the P&Z meeting of December 5th. Mr. McGarry, I'm going to look to you now for our first legislative
Our first
item.
hearing? Somebody going to read the...
Yeah, I think that's my responsibility, so I will do that.
Right here.
It's on the front. Yeah, I have my own here. I just didn't do it right. Okay.
No, he's just...
The first one, we have three today, by the way. The first one is an ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, amending Section 70.14C, Chapter 70, subdivision of the Code of the City of Vero Beach, exempting the re-subdivision of existing platted lots in single-family residential zoning districts from the average minimum lot width and area requirements of Section 70.14C, providing for conflict and severability, providing for an effective date.
I'll make this brief. We went through this at a workshop, Mr. Chairman. Basically, this ordinance is to correct what we think is an oversight when the original ordinance. The intent of this ordinance, of these restrictions, is really to prevent smaller lots that are not compatible with existing development patterns in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, it was really supposed to be aimed at new lots, but it also includes any change in lot lines. And we ran into a situation that the lots that were produced just a mere 5 feet would have been incompatible, would be inconsistent with this code. We don't believe that that was the intent of that. Since I wrote this, that wasn't my intent. But you do learn, and even though these changes can be made, this would eliminate the re-subdivision of lots from this, where no new lots are being created. They still have to meet the minimum requirements of that, so there is no additional development potential being created by this. So unless you have specific questions of me, there's not. Open it up for hearing.
Yeah, we have to, it's legislative. We still have to open it for hearing, correct? Seeing nobody in the audience that wishes to participate, I will close the public hearing after I opened it. We've seen this before, and I think we're pretty well, unless there's additional questions or comments about this particular one. Do we have any?
No.
Seeing none, then I'd be looking to a motion to accept this and move it forward to City Council.
So moved. Second.
We have moved in second. Is there any discussion on this point now? Seeing none, I'm calling for a vote.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
Ms. Walensky?
Yes.
Mr. Mucher?
Yes.
Mr. Croteau?
Yes.
Mr. Laufer?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
The second item on our agenda today, which is 5B, and this is a quasi-judicial ordinance, an ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan future land use map by changing the land use designation of annexed land from the Indian River County designation of C/I, commercial industrial, to the City of Vero Beach, designation C. The commercial for the property located at 703-725 17th Street, including a portion of Lot 5, Block 2 of the plat of Dr. Richard E. Bullington's subdivision containing 2.5 acres, more or less, providing for an effective date.
Mr. Chairman, we want to combine this with C as the hearing. We're calling it quasi-judicial, be on the safe side, even though most comp plan changes are generally legislative. But we want to have one hearing for both of them, since you're dealing with the same subject. You will have to
Then,
take.
Tim, I would recommend that Mr. Laufer go ahead and read the
Oh
second
no, I will.
ordinance
That's
as well.
I'm just.
Would you like me to
my
read the second
spiel
one?
out and then have them read number
C,
C?
item C, then
They
also?
would have to have a separate.
But you'll need to have
But we will
separate
need to have a
votes.
separate
at the
vote.
end,
Separate
but you need to
votes.
go ahead and read C.
And I was going to ask about the quasi-judicial, too.
And that's why
it's
we're
just
doing
one
it.
parcel,
Right.
an individual.
Right.
But since we're combining them in one hearing, that's why we just be on the safe side.
Okay. Then the 5C, which is an additional, an ordinance of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, amending the official zoning map by changing the zoning district designation of annexed land from Indian River County designation CG General Commercial to City of Vero Beach designated C1. highway-oriented commercial for the property located at 703, 725, 17th Street, including a portion of Lot 5, Block 2 of the plat of Dr. Richard E. Bullington's subdivision containing 2.5 acres, more or less, providing for an effective date. With this in mind, both of these will be brought before our board this afternoon. And seeing nobody from the public, we open for public comment. There is nobody?
Let's go ahead and ask about ex parte communications
Okay.
as
Wait,
well.
I'm sorry. That's right. We are.
None.
This, Tim, do you have anything, planning and zoning board members, ex parte communication by any of the board members?
None.
No?
I haven't been to that restaurant in years.
Okay.
What restaurant?
Swearing of the applicant. You are the applicant.
Well,
And
no,
staff.
we can provide testimony.
Do you have to provide testimony?
He's
We are
out.
the applicant.
The applicant's not here, so
The city's applying.
yes, city is the
applying on
applicant.
behalf of the
Oh,
Okay.
I wonder. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
They
Thank
do.
you.
And charge the city with the exhibits. Do you have any exhibits that we're going to be using today? Just what's in our pack?
None that are in addition to your packet, so you
Okay.
have them available.
Okay.
And Sherry will be making the presentation.
And staff. Okay, Sherry's going to make the opening statement. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I think you
I
just
think you
shut off
turned
your
it off, maybe,
microphone.
Sherry.
Thank you, and I have a cold, so
Okay.
just bear with me there. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, this is once again a request to amend our future land use and zoning map, and this in particular relates to annexed property that's located just south of 17th Street, just east of the intersection of 17th Street and US 1. As mentioned, we'd like to make the staff report part of the record. And as mentioned in the staff report, the existing future land use designation that's in the county is commercial industrial. The request is to bring that land into the city with a comparable land use, and that comparable land use is commercial.
Okay.
Also, the zoning. We also need to bring the zoning into the city's zoning map. And the existing zoning is CG General Commercial in the county. And the closest comparable zoning that we have in the city is C-1 Highway Oriented Commercial. So that's the proposal here. And that's also the City Council's policy. When we annex property, we look towards the closest land use and zoning that matches the existing land use and zoning in the county. And that's what we've done here, and this is what we're presenting to you today. Similar to the subject property, and this is Exhibit A, is also in your packet. They're attached to the ordinances, and they're also on the screen. You'll see that the surrounding property for the future land use is consistent. To the north, you have the commercial area. To the west of US 1 in the city limits, it's also commercial. In the county area, to the immediately to the west, the zoning is also, the land use is also commercial industrial. To the east of the subject property, the existing future land use for the county is M-2, medium density residential. There's existing zoning and land use patterns due north of the subject property, existing C1 highway oriented commercial, as you see on your exhibits and the zoning map, and also on your screen, hopefully. Oops, excuse me, turn it on. There you go. You have comparable zoning to the north, west. The area that's in the unincorporated county, the zoning to the west and south is also CG comparable. To the south and east, the zoning in the county is half of the property is zoned OCR, office, commercial, and residential. The other half contains single-family residential uses and is zoned RM-10 residential medium. When we took a look at the differences in the land use and the zoning between the existing county and the proposed city designations, there are very few differences. One difference is the county has the future land use designation, commercial industrial. They have a dual land use designation. The city does not. We have a separate commercial industrial land use, but theoretically, that's the main difference here. The zoning is very similar. The CG commercial, the uses are very similar to the proposed C1 highway-oriented commercial zoning. Staff took a look at the and review it and the analysis, and we also looked at what the code requirements are for land use amendments and zoning map amendments. And we've provided that in the staff report, starting on page 4. The justification for the amendment, once again, it's to comply with Florida statutes to bring the property into the city's land use and zoning. The consistency with the future land use change, the staff finds that it's consistent. The subject property is located in an urban center. It's near an intersection of 2 major highways. It's also found to be compliant with Chapter 163 Florida statute. And also on page 5 of the staff report, we looked at the consistencies between the land uses and the zoning between the county and the city. Those are all also found to be consistent. And moving along really quickly, the staff also looked at the land development regulations and zoning standards. We found that to be also consistent, and we've given you more detail in the staff report. On page 6 of the staff report, we have compliance with other review standards for rezoning in the city code, the compatibility with the zoning map designation. The amendment is compatible with the immediate vicinity of the zoning change. We wanted to make a note that there are single-family residential uses south and east of the property. Those are existing. Once again, the zoning is similar, so there should be a negligible impact on the change. I do want to make a note, though, that the second paragraph on page 6, the first sentence says, the proposed C1 zoning district allows similar commercial uses as the existing CG general commercial district, period. The following sentences, which start with however, to the end of that paragraph, if you could just X those out, that's a mistake that was made, and I apologize for that. So, like I said, if the starting with however and that sentence and the following sentence that starts with therefore, just ignore that. Changing conditions in the neighborhood and the property. Once again, the change is the annexation itself. We also looked at the concurrency requirements. Once again, the uses are similar and the change is similar, so there should be no negligible increase in impacts. And so I do want to make a note on page 7, the staff report, the finding. It states, since the proposed existing zoning is similar in commercial uses and the proposed C1 zoning, the impact should be negligible, period, and remove the rest of that sentence there. That's also an additional correction. Based on that analysis and the staff report and the corrected staff report that I made today, the staff recommends that you approve or recommend approval to the City Council of the first draft ordinance amending the land use, and then second, the draft ordinance amending the zoning map designations. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I just have a couple questions.
Yes.
To make me feel more comfortable about this, in which I am comfortable with it, but it's an existing property, and the function that's going on there now will continue to be the same, and they're in compliance with all city regulations for the new zoning as we accept them with this acquisition.
Yes, they are, and the property owner has requested some changes to the property in uses etc., which is a separate process from this review.
That
but
will
just
have to
so
go
you
through
know,
a separate
I believe
review.
They've submitted
Yes.
a site plan
Yes.
application.
Yes.
You remember when
Right.
they came before you, the reason they
Yes.
came in the city is we have a more flexible parking code. And that, well, one of the reasons they
So
came.
we'll see that soon. The site plan.
No, I think it's going to
It's-
probably not
it's
hit.
not going to meet the
It's
threshold
going to be
for you to see,
administrative.
but if I can,
Oh.
I can.
No, it's okay.
Should I explain? No, probably.
Well,
not.
no.
What's gonna
They're
happen-
basically going to have some change in tendencies in there. I think they're going to expand the restaurant and that, but it'll all be. There's not really any change in footprint, so it doesn't meet the threshold.
So
Mr. Chairman,
change
I
in
see
parking
this,
and tenants
that,
and
right.
site design a little bit.
I see this a housekeeping matter, and
In some ways,
anything
Right.
else
it is,
would
but-
be in the site plan.
But because I don't do the detail that these people do
Right.
on. I do an cursory overview of what we're doing here, and those basic questions I think should be answered
Yes.
officially for me anyhow. And
I have a question.
go ahead.
I one of the things in reading this I thought was a positive was that it would be a less intensive use because you're doing away with the industrial use, and yet in your changes to your
Right.
report you took away that comment.
Right.
Why was that?
Right. In my report, I specifically was referencing the zoning differences.
Okay.
You are correct. Theoretically, the future land use is
Would be
not a
less intense. It's
combined
more
industrial. And in hindsight, that's where the comments should have been made in the
okay.
report. But rather than complicate things, I wanted to just make it clear that the zoning from commercial general to C1 is very similar, and the impact should be the
So
same.
I guess what you're saying, Sherry, under the county thing, they could have looked at other zoning
They
classifications.
could have come in and rezoned theoretically. Once
If it met
again,
other, yeah.
industrial zoning, that site
Right.
likely not. But
Well, yeah.
theoretically, if all things considered, the land use would have permitted a commercial /
Right.
industrial.
If it stayed with the county,
Right, exactly.
then at some point it could have been developed as an industrial use.
Right, or rezoned,
rezoned.
to a higher intensity
Higher
of
intensity.
zoning
Right.
from the
So
county.
it's still a positive.
Yes, it's still a positive in that respect,
Very
and
good.
I apologize for the oversight there.
I was just
Yes.
confused as to
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad to have that explanation because
Yes.
that was my major impression was the less intensive
Yes,
nature.
yes.
And
Yes.
okay, good.
Although we're expecting some changes in the future
Yes.
with
Yes.
their
Tenants,
usage.
parking spaces,
Okay.
other
Right.
things. Yes.
And do you have any additional comments as both 5B and C combined?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. We took a dual approach because we're really looking at the zoning in this case in terms of the impacts because it's more current.
Okay. And since you are the applicant and also the staff, we can move on to then. There's no rebuttal here from anybody.
No. Those rebuttals are like in appeals. I mean,
But they're
when
not.
you're doing a quasi-judicial hearing that Peggy pointed out, you want the evidence provided for you to make the proper conclusion, the facts, to make the findings, and that's all you're doing here. So there's nobody's up here contesting that.
That's my point.
Yeah,
So
right.
we're moving past that.
Right.
So do you need a motion to do something here?
Need a motion now?
You'll need separate motions
Motions.
and 2 votes on each one of them
Okay.
separately.
So then we can do C first, and it'd be.
No, I do
B first.
B, I mean, sorry,
Do
B
B
first.
first.
B first, right? I have picked it up.
Don't you watch Sesame Street?
Yeah, A before B. Okay.
B before C.
Let's see what was there. Give me a number we have on this. Do you want to use the
5B.
5B?
I
Is
will
that all
move
right?
we adopt 5B.
Okay,
5E works.
that works. Okay, 5B of the agenda. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote, please.
Mr. Berg?
Yes.
Ms. Polensky?
Yes.
Mr. Mucher?
Yes.
Mr. Croteau?
Yes.
Mr. Lawfer?
Yes.
5-0.
The second one will be on our agenda would be 5C, and that one did have an ordinance number 2013. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
We accept this. Do we have a
Second.
second?
Move to accept.
It's been any discussion? I'm calling for a vote then, please.
Mr. Berg?
Yes.
Ms. Polensky?
Yes.
Mr. Mucher?
Yes.
Mr. Croteau?
Yes.
Mr. Lawfer?
Yes.
Passes 5-0.
The next item on our agenda for today is our annual report. And I think Tim McGarry
I took.
You're up.
Yes, I.
Although it has my signature on it, and I appreciate it.
Well, no, it's not until you can get this.
I know, but I meant.
I think I try to cover everything that of any substance that was done the last calendar year as part of the annual report to the council. The focus of our efforts, those are based on the work program that we talked about at the previous meeting at the same time. I try to give the city council some idea where our focus will be coming up in 2014. And the only thing we left out on this thing, and certainly you can make other changes, the only thing I left out on this was any recommendations to city council. You don't have to make a recommendation, but I left it there. So I think one thing that the chairman brought up to me, whether I didn't include the overlay district because it had already been through you all last December. So because we showed it in last year's report, I didn't put it in here. Anybody have any?
Are the priorities? I think that's the thing we'd like to look at. Are they where we want them to be? He did make the adjustment we asked for, and with the stormwater, and
my recommendation to City Council would be to finally get around to appointing another alternate.
Well, I think they've gotten some names in. Tammy showed me some.
Yes, we have some applications, but
good.
hasn't gone. They haven't interviewed them yet.
okay.
Thank you. We don't need to write that down.
No,
They weren't going to, by the way.
Planning on meeting in Austin?
Well,
Tim, does anybody have any comments about the priorities for next year?
looks good to me.
Looks good. Tim, usually we follow Tim's lead pretty much on that.
Oh, yeah.
So if we have something individually, we're not shy.
No, it looks fine. I think you did a nice job, Larry.
Yeah, thank you.
I think you did.
I took a lot of credit for that too. You notice that?
Well, if you're all satisfied with it, if you would have a motion to approve this,
we will
to send on the city
Yes.
council, and I'll get rid of the draft and have it for your signature, Mr. Chairman.
Could we have that motion, please?
Okay.
Okay, I so move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 No opposed.
All right, we're moving. I don't have much longer to go, I can see.
Okay. Planning Department matters.
All right. I don't think I have items I want to go over that in January. I don't think we have anything necessary for the next meeting in December. Council's only had their one meeting this month. If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest we don't need to have a meeting. We don't have this month.
Fine.
All right. So with that in mind, I wanted to go over.
So our next meeting will be when?
Will be January 2nd.
January
January
1st
2nd.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first Thursday, right. I wanted to go over some things that we're going to have to deal with, and they'll probably be ready for you in the January meeting. This might be a large meeting. The first one at the city council meeting on Tuesday, the council directed staff to prepare an ordinance to rezone McWilliam and Bob Summers Park to P2. Right now, it has the concerns about retaining it as a park. It already has a comp plan designation of park, but it's got a commercial marina designation to zoning. Now, why they did that? So this cleans it up. It really doesn't do a lot, but it does. It makes it more consistent with the comp plan. So I will be preparing an ordinance for you. The direction City Council would like to have approved. So I'll try to have that ready for the next meeting.
What did you say the existing land use is?
Well, the existing zoning is commercial marina,
zoning
CM.
is, because
to go to
that's what's next
P2, which
door.
is active recreation, and it allows all the same
uses.
uses.
Say the land use is?
Public park.
Public park.
Oh,
Park, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
the zoning's inconsistent with the plan.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's certain uses in there. I mean, I think one of the inconsistencies, you can't have a motel in a park area, and you wouldn't be allowed to. You know how the rule of thumb is: comp plan supersedes the zoning. You know, whatever's allowed in the comp plan could be allowed in that zoning district. But those that aren't, you wouldn't be allowed to do. That's why we're always making changes. And why it was done that way,
Yeah.
you know, that's been a while ago. But I will be bringing that before before you, and basically we're looking at rezoning it from the ditch, which is just south of the marina, the ditch,
Right.
all the way to State Route 60.
Right.
So that whole area we're looking at.
Did I read in the paper today? Did you read it? I think they reported that the city council rezoned it.
No. Is that what they said?
I think.
No, they're asking us to
They're
rezone it.
Right, but
And that's what we're going to do.
Isn't there a
thought the paper reported
a
it
building,
was a done deal.
a power squadron building or something in that?
Yeah, that's all right. That's one of those recreation culture. It fits in the P2.
Okay, it's in the P2. Okay.
Yeah, there's no
So
problem there.
All right.
It's clean. Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that's coming up is I hope to have the capital improvements schedule. I told you we were going to do that. It's pretty pro forma for the comp plan, and I'm going to try to have that for the second. That it won't be a big deal because the council's already adopted the budget. So again, it's just pro forma to meet state law statutes. We have probably one of the big things coming on. The Hampton Inn may be ready for review at that meeting. So I just met. We've sent comments out to them. They're responding to those. I met with their landscape person today, and they had a bunch of changes they have to make on that. But we may be ready, but it's a fairly big project. So
If we have an opportunity, could we get that a little earlier? Because that will take some time to look that
right,
over.
I will try to,
Okay.
but it takes 18 days for us to advertise, and I'm not going to advertise this unless I'm satisfied that our staff report is ready to go, and we can make a recommendation. So that's why we do have a smaller POI, a conversion of a residential to an office in a POI district, which you will see, and I think that will be ready.
Where's that one at, do you know?
It's up on, I think, 19th Avenue and State Route 60. It's a corner lot. It's an old building. It went through a variance here. This lot was too small for POI. It was one of those things that had been rezoned with all the other lots, and they got it rezoned. They've been trying to get offices in there for a long time. We finally got somebody. It's an old building, and they're going to retain it. So it's that. Let's see. Those are the major items that are coming up. I just also just your information, on Tuesday the brief was filed on the vacation rentals by our attorneys. So and it looked very good. I was happy to see it. And so unless you have some questions of me, Mr. Chairman, or any members of the board, that's all the staff has.
Board, anybody members? Questions?
I have a question because I'm fairly new to the board. I'm involved with the dog park project, so I'm not going to be. I can't be involved at all. Any discussions, or how does that work?
Sure
You can talk about anything you want.
Yeah.
You just can't vote on it.
I
No,
just
you
can't
can-
vote. Okay.
Well, she
Well,
can
if she
vote
has-
as long as she
if
doesn't
she has
have
a conflict.
financial
Right.
interest.
Yeah, no
Right.
it's the financial.
That's
interest.
something you would need to talk
That's
to the
what's going
attorney's
to be,
office
the
about.
financial
Because everybody
interest.
has an opinion. So that's-
Okay.
That can involve the fine.
Just check.
Yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to
I
Larry, who has a financial interest in in original town, so he's got to be careful.
I'll have to pay. I probably won't vote on those.
Well, you should go.
I can do the workshops, though.
Well, I
No, you
think
should be-
on some of the things, if we're in a
You can do
legislative
anything.
item, which is the comp plan, we'll talk to Peg about that. That's more of a legislative item, and you may have more flexibility there. In a zoning, it's a different issue. Possibly if it affects you, she'll take care of it.
Yeah, she'll let you know.
You certainly can. You can certainly discuss things.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
that's not
Oh,
a
yeah.
problem. All right.
Yep.
You might want to.
Okay. That's it. No, any other questions? Okay. Mr. Chairman, it's yours.
Any board member matters?
Board members don't matter.
No. Okay. Sherry, anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
There you go.
Hey.